Hey guys, it's Nanette from Heart Baby Home. Today we're going to take a look at heart number 32, which is double inlet left ventricle with TGA. So I want to start with the TGA because it mixes up the heart and makes everything a little bit confusing. That's transposition of the great arteries. But if you look at the aorta and pulmonary artery compared to the normal heart, it doesn't look like they're in the wrong position. But if you take a closer look at the ventricles, in heart number 32, the left ventricle is on the patient's right side. So those ventricles have been switched. In a normal heart, the aorta goes to the left ventricle and the pulmonary artery goes to the right ventricle. But in our heart, the aorta is going to the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery is going to the left ventricle. So that's why it's still considered to be TGA, because the ventricles have switched. Now let's look at the double inlet left ventricle. So inlet just means where the blood is coming into the ventricles from each atrium. And in heart number 32, both of those inlets lead to the left ventricle, which of course is going to make the blood mix all together. It also leads to a very small right ventricle, which is the hypoplastic right ventricle. And that's just because when it was forming, all of the blood was going into the left ventricle and some of the blood was being pulled out of the right ventricle, so it just didn't have a chance to develop very well. I also see a VSD, that's the ventricular septal defect, and that's a hole in the septum that's supposed to be the wall between the two ventricles. I also see pulmonary stenosis, that's at the very bottom of the pulmonary artery, where there's a narrowing either in the valve or right above or below the valve, so that it's harder for blood to get to the lungs. And then I also see a PDA, that's the patent Ductus arteriosus. So because the valve going into the pulmonary artery is smaller than normal from that stenosis, then the heart has a harder time getting blood into the lungs. So what happens is blood comes out of the heart into the aorta, and some of it shoots down that PDA into the pulmonary artery and out to the lungs. Now that's not what your PDA is for. Everybody has a PDA before they're born, but it usually closes 2 to 10 days after birth. But what'll happen is these cardiologists will give your baby special medicines that can keep that PDA open just a little longer. And so then your baby has more time to grow and develop before needing that first surgery. It can also go the other way. Sometimes the PDA doesn't close when it's supposed to, and the doctors have to go in and surgically correct that. But usually they can do that in the cath lab, which means it's not an open heart surgery, which means the recovery is a lot easier. And it looks like that's it for heart number 32. If you have any questions, please contact me. My number. Okay, I'm not going to give you my phone number, but you can contact me at my website. It's www.heartbabyhome.com/contact. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. And if you want me to draw a new heart for you, all of those places are good for that too. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel. That directly helps me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and I will see you again. Bye-bye.